Okay, our spicy topic once again. Part 2. Toxic religious beliefs, misbeliefs and lies. And misbeliefs and lies that may be jeopardizing your life and you didn't even know. Like they're running in the background, but you just aren't aware of it. So there were 11 of them, and I covered 6 of them last time. And so I will cover numbers 7 to 11 tonight. So number 7, crushing curiosity. So, we as children, we're born to be really, really curious. We're born by nature to be curious because that's how we explore and we learn and we grow. And it's crucial. Curiosity is so crucial for brain development. Spiritually, curiosity is so needed for spiritual growth and development. Children ask, why, what, how, can I? So curiosity is the fuel for exploration and experimentation. So this encourages children to express themselves and their unique abilities and their unique gifts, and they build confidence. And then when we're confident, we know how to relate to others better. When did you lose curiosity as a child? Did you lose curiosity as a child? When was it crushed? Maybe you were forced to just, hey, concentrate on work only. Hey, concentrate on study only. So that narrowed all your options, and then you became less curious because you just had to focus on this single one thing. Study hard, work hard. So when you tend to focus on one thing, you do get familiar and comfortable with it, but that's all you know. And so you're kind of just you become like a hamster on a wheel, don't you? Because of that, you lose curiosity. And unfortunately, it is parents or people in authority who can shut down a child's questions or sense of exploration. And as a child, you might have gotten branded as, oh, you're being rebellious, or you're so doubtful when you ask questions. So then when you got shut down like that, then you learn as a child to associate curiosity with fear and self-doubt. So questions, far from being threatening, open the way for a greater grasp of the truth. Indeed, there are no answers where there wasn't first a question. That's from David Riddell. When questioning takes too much courage, you start to feel discouraged. Is your church and family a safe place in which to ask any question you want? Simple and hard questions. No questions are too big or too small. So the thing is to notice your family culture, notice the church culture. Is it an open space, a safe place for you to bring up questions, to be super curious, to explore, to experiment? Or were you taught just never to question? It's rude to question. It's disrespectful to question. Just obey. Do as you're told. That's a really fast way to shut down curiosity. And so you can end up being like a robot. You go through the motions without examining yourself, learning how to be self-aware. And then there's just little room for growth, a little room for exploration. Because the more, we experiment and we explore, we learn to take ownership for our choices. And that's how we grow, when we take ownership for our choices. But how do you get to know there's more choices if you never explore, and you never offered or think that you have many other choices apart from just this one? So here's an empowering question. Have I ever shut down because I was told you're rebellious, or your questions were brushed aside or dismissed? So how can you resolve this? Notice that. Okay, so that's number 7. And number 8 is J-O-Y. Joy or J-O-Y? It's a popular Sunday school lesson. J-O-Y, it stands for Jesus first, others second, yourself last. J-O-Y. It's a joy. And that's quite unscriptural. It's also a recipe for burnout and increasing martyrdom and religious resentment. Because there's a lie, and it's the lie that is this: it's selfish to put yourself first. That's the lie. That's why sometimes it's even just J-O. Jesus and others. Yourself is not even in the picture. So here's the mix-up. Like we mix being self-aware with the same as being selfish. No, they're two separate things. If I'm self-aware, I understand myself. I understand I receive God's love. I know how his love works in me. I know how my mind works. I know how my emotions work. I know what's going on in here. And when I know what's going on, I can renew my mind. I can change things I don't like. I'm sensitive to how I react to people and how people react to me. Therefore, I can change. See, that's self-awareness. That's not being selfish. But Christians tend to think, oh, that's just being selfish. So they shut that down. I'm just going to serve other people. It's more spiritual. It's godly to be just all about God and people. Don't worry about me. So it's like self-denial in the wrong sense. And the thing is this. So Matthew 22, verse 37 to 38, right? It encourages us exhorts us. The first and greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with everything that you have. Of course, that's impossible because we're never going to perfectly love God. But that's the first and greatest commandment. And the second one is just like it, and says, love your neighbor as yourself. But do we actually think about what that really means? Love my neighbor as myself. What does that really mean? If we're commanded to love our neighbor just as you love yourself. Right, so we missed out just as you love yourself. And that's why we get that lie. It just became Jesus and others. And yourself was never in the picture. That's why it's unscriptural, because in the scripture it says, love your neighbor just as you love yourself. And how can I love my neighbor if I do not love myself? If I have not first received the love of God for me, how do I love my neighbor? So God intends for us to go like this: receive God's love for myself. It overflows onto others around me. So if I first do not know the love of God, how do I love people with the love of God? I am loving out of an empty tank. I am loving out of my own strength. I am loving out of my own personality. How far will that go? I'm actually disobeying that commandment, aren't I? Because I am not loving God as myself. I am loving God out of myself. So follow the first commandment, love the Lord. I receive his love. It overflows onto others. That's the correct priority. So, for instance, if you say you just totally ignore yourself, you take yourself out of that picture, the opposite actually will happen. You think you're being loving to others and you think you're sharing the love of God, but then you become so empty that you become needy. So instead, when you think you're caring for people, you're actually wanting them to care for you because you are empty. You're going around with your needs unmet and you're going to help people to get your needs met, right? So that's because I haven't first received my spiritual need of love and acceptance from God first. So therefore I can make it look like I'm serving other people and caring for other people and I'm putting them first, whereas actually I am putting myself first. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to get my needs met through helping other people. Through helping other people, I can feel better about myself. I feel important. I have a role. I feel good when I help other people. But what are we doing this out of? You see, so if it's not out of the love of God, then it's out of a need to be loved. So I hope you guys get that love of God first in my heart. I'm filled up in God. This overflows to other people. I am not therefore needing people to fill me up. So that's JOY. And the other thing about JOY, if we do that, leaving ourselves in self-denial and not being self-aware, not receiving, building that relationship with God first, we can become two different people. And I've done this myself. We can become two different people. The one person's very different in public and one very different in private. And that's because it's so easy. You know, it is so easy to put up a mask and a front publicly. And when I come home, I'm relaxed. I'm vulnerable with my family. This is how I really am. And I used to be a totally different person. Resentful, angry, stubborn. I was nothing like that person publicly. I had not been working on myself or not been plugged into God as a priority. So what is the healthy priority for us if we're involved in ministry or work or business as a Christian? So first it is loving the Lord my God, and then the second is me and my family come after that. Love my family as I love myself after I receive the love of God. And then from there, then it's church, it's ministry, it's work, it's business. So that's the priority. And there's many, many families that are full-time ministry, pastors' kids, ministry kids who are resentful because their parents, and me and Stan were no different in the early years. We put ministry first, and we kind of neglected our children a little bit in different areas, and we put ministry first because it was just easier to do, because we got instant gratification, because we were sometimes doing it out of a need for us to feel good about ourselves, to feel better. We were ministering out of an empty tank. So, and we had our priorities wrong, because it was like we thought we were putting, well, I can only speak for me, I'm putting God first because I'm putting the church first, because I'm putting ministry first. And then my kids came after that. Wrong priority. You can see the fruits. Okay, and here's an empowering question. When it comes to serving in my church or others, what am I doing this out of? What is that motivation? What is driving me to serve? We can examine our motives, right? What actually drives me to serve my church or other people? And here's a litmus test. Am I feeling resentful or obligated? When I get that phone call again where there's a call to serve, am I starting to feel resentment rise up, and am I starting to feel like I feel obligated? Or is it out of God's love, out of that overflow? Sure, yes, I'm doing it out of God's love. The love that I've filled up and received for myself. Right. Okay, so that's number 8. So number 9, here's one you might be familiar with, the gospel of excellence and prosperity. Yeah, so this teaching confuses the blessing of God with material wealth and worldly success. Like, because God must be blessing me, His favor is on my life because I'm doing really well in life, as a Christian. I'm rich, I've got lots of assets, I've got all the worldly success, I'm right up there on the ladder. But this encourages the practice of greed, and this theology or mindset encourages, the practice of greed, and ignores biblical stuff that's also in the Bible: sacrificial living, sacrifice, failures, grief, suffering. Here's something that we were taught in a young Christian walk. If you tithe, then your whole life will go well with you because you are honoring God first. So we always do that. If you want to put God first, if you want to prove that you're putting God first, then give the first 10% of your income to Him. That's what we were taught. And yes, we believe that. And of course, I'm not putting down tithing. It's healthy. Tithing, a tenth, which means 1/10. It is healthy when you balance it with wise spending, investing, and saving. We used to just let's tithe and let's not worry about the rest. Because that was never talked about in church. Mainly as tithing is magnified, everything else is just not that important. But look, as we found out, tithing doesn't fix your debt. It doesn't fix your spending problems. It doesn't fix your heart. It doesn't fix your relationships. This is all my responsibility, your responsibility to work on.
It doesn't raise your kids either.
That's right. That's right. So, when you're in this environment of the prosperity gospel, poverty is the new sin. If you're in poverty, you are in sin. The big lie. And excellence is confused with the dressing up in the latest suits and expensive fashions and the bling-blings and obtaining the best in technology in the church as well, lavish furnishings, celebrations. And this is all at a cost of a loss of biblical values. Biblical values are slowly eroded in your faith and in your belief system. You do become like others who are you around, so you surround. If you surround yourself with people who are of a certain culture and mindset, you become more like them. It's just right? You guys agree, right? Yeah. So this is the reason why many churches divert most of their donations into their buildings and programs, prioritizing looking good, feeling good, having the goods. Let's face it, it's a worldly mindset. If the focus is entirely on that, that's what I'm saying. Not saying it's not wrong. It's not wrong to have nice buildings and good equipment, but when you prioritize it and put all the funds towards it to maintain looking good, feeling good, and having the goods, it is a worldly mindset. It is always about priorities, right? Like we can't label this as wrong. It's about what do I prioritize? So the excellence culture in churches has an alluring appeal, and especially will be very alluring to people who are very performance-based, who are very perfectionistic maybe, who are quite task-driven, because we can seek our self-worth and significance from that, can't we? Yeah, like excellence in the church. I'm in charge of the 100 people choir, let's say, or I'm the PA for the big pastor, let's say. I can get my significance and my meaning from that. Well, you can get it from anything that you prioritize, actually, to draw your self-worth from, to be honest. So in that kind of environment, church roles and responsibilities are very important to people, the labels on you. You are the head of, the leader of. But what does Jesus ask us to seek? Only one thing, his kingdom and his righteousness. Matthew 6:33. He says there's only one thing you seek. Him, his kingdom, his righteousness. That's his only priority. It's a love affair with Jesus. And which means if we love Jesus, we're going to be an enemy with the world. James 4:4 says, if you have a friendship with the world, that's enemy with God. And has the church's value system been set by the world we live in? Aren't worldly values supposed to be challenged, not succumb to? So greed and carnality has its Christian disguise, just as performance does, has its disguise, and it can be just as subtle. And this is the point. Who or what you worship, you will become. So who or what you worship, you will become. So here's an empowering question. What or who is being prioritized or worshipped here under this belief system? What or who is being prioritized? Who or what is being worshipped here? Okay, so number 10. Another good one, behaviorism confused with the blessing. So behaviorism is like doing all the right things. It's all about your actions. It's not about the heart. It's not about the attitude. It's all about doing it right and in front of other people. So it's not wrong in itself, because sometimes you have to do something to know something is good and something is true and something is right? Sometimes that works like that. So we're not talking about that. But it's when you act on something without any understanding, revelation or insight, and you just do it without understanding. You don't ask. I can't ask. I'll just do it. But you do it without thinking, without ownership. And that's behaviorism. And it only works for a little time. If you just keep acting on things and knowing that I have to do the right thing without any insight or truth, your actions will get undone and you'll soon give up and go, that doesn't work. Because it's just behaviorism. It's just changing your outward actions, not changing the inner heart. So also, why does behaviorism, we think it works? Because it's just easier to do. Sometimes it's just easier to do something rather than to process how I'm feeling and to change what I'm thinking. That is hard work. And here's the mindset that comes with it. I'm blessed because I do the right things. So we can believe that God's favor is on us, and I'm blessed, and I'm okay because I'm doing all the right things. Well, according to who? Other people. This mindset can create a religious, hypocritical, self-righteous, I'm better than you attitude. Because you can do things right outwardly in front of others who only see your actions, yet nobody can see your heart, and your hearts can be very hardened towards God, towards ourselves, towards others. Nobody sees that, except God, of course, because we mask it all in the right behavior. And this is where we can learn to mask, and this is the danger. We learn to mask and hide our own difficult emotions. We put on masks at church, but we're one person outwardly to other people, and we're another person, that real person, in private. So there's something wrong going on there. Now, the thing is that we can believe that we're God aware, right? I know, I pray, I'm aware of God, I read the Bible, I pray, but you forget to be self-aware. I'm God aware, but where does God's love go? Where does the truth go? Oh, it goes into my mind. It goes into my heart to change me. And when it changes me, this is what it looks like in my life. It causes change in my behaviors. So that's being self-aware. And we become God-aware, and then we become people-aware, and we don't be self-aware. We neglect self. And that's how behaviorism happens. So here's some beliefs about behaviorism that drives your behaviors. I'm a good Christian because I give. I serve and I attend church every Sunday. Right? I'm a really good person because I do everything right morally. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't sleep around. That must mean I'm a really good person. I'm on God's side. And here's another one. I'm prospering because I tithe faithfully. So those are some of the lies that we've believed that drive our outward behavior, that perpetuate that. So here's an empowering question. What am I doing but not understanding? We've got to catch that. Am I just doing this automatically? Why? Why am I doing this without even thinking and without processing and without knowing why do I do what I do? So what is driving me to do that? Finally, the last one. We're getting to the end, guys. Baptized bruises, which means spiritualizing the natural. In other words, you're putting a God label on natural things. Okay, for instance, so if you notice your talk, your self-talk, is God in every sentence. God this, God that, God said this, God told me this, He led me here, He did that. And there's no language and no ownership of yourself saying, I feel, I think, I chose, I want, I desire, when it's actually really you and not God. Then you're just deflecting. You could be deflecting your insecurities and vulnerabilities onto God. But He delegates it right back to you. And if you keep putting it back to Him, there's no change in you. So, can I say this? It's easy when you become a Christian to be caught up in that culture of God talk, and you can hide behind it. You can put a mask over yourself, and you can hide behind God words and scriptures and prayer and everything so spiritual. And have you ever tried to have a conversation with somebody who is overly spiritual, who spiritualizes everything? It's really hard to get to know them because they put up this God barrier. And that's just maybe a protective barrier to hide underneath, because I don't know how to deal with my inner life. I just don't know. I don't want to face that. It's too hard. So that's what most of us can resort to. Just be aware of that. It's easy after a Christian to spiritualize your feelings and spiritualize your undesirable behaviors. So you want to make them out to be more acceptable, perhaps, when you put God in front of it or over it. So maybe there's a deep belief there and a misunderstanding of what it means to deny yourself and follow Christ. Maybe this person, or, I used to do it as a Christian, a new Christian. I just misinterpreted denying myself, like literally deny myself. Like I'm totally out of the picture. It's just all God. That's too spiritual, guys. That's spiritualizing what is me, what is natural, and then I can take ownership. Why is it so scary to admit to your own choices? Why is it so scary to take responsibility for your own inner life? What's going on? What's missing? And the second thing is, what you come under in leadership will be magnified and emphasized in you and in the church. And it becomes the prevailing culture of the church. It's always from leadership down. That's how culture is built, is how it's spread, it's how it develops and how it travels through. It's always from the leadership. They set the culture. So if we are in a space, like some churches are very very outward looking, like always reaching new Christians. That's a great thing. That's a culture, right? Everything flows from the top down. And it's also the same in families. What flows? What's the culture, prevailing culture in your family growing up? Is it perfectionism, performance, high achievement, success? It flows from the probably generations down and from your parents onto you. And we don't know it's at work in our lives until we get self-aware and knowledge and the tools to change. So the language, the attitudes, what's acceptable, what's not, it all flows from top down. Just be aware of that. So you can be shaped by your environment. We're all shaped by our environment. And if you are currently in an unhealthy church environment, be aware of it and then examine your inner life so you can renew your mind, so you can be healed and not fall into these traps. And sometimes you just have to leave the old to start something new. That is something to pray about if you're aware that you're in a very unhealthy environment. So empowering Christian is, what existing inner pain is there that I'm trying to compensate, that I'm trying to make up for with? When we're spiritualizing, we're putting God over my feelings, my thoughts, my choices, my decisions. That's a good question, isn't it? So there you have it, guys. That's the end of our toxic religious beliefs. Those are just 11 named, but maybe you can discover some more. And I've got some questions for discussion. As like last time, which of these beliefs, Stan, if you could please copy that into the chat, which of these beliefs of toxic religion do you recognize? Do you recognize it? Maybe in your life, maybe in your friend's life, maybe they're at work in you right now. And ask each other some empowering questions and apply truths to it.